All right, welcome friends to the third Monday in September. And I am coming to you this time from Salem, Massachusetts, which is really exciting. Had a lovely couple days going down to the ocean and exploring all the wonderful witchiness around here. We actually took a tour yesterday that is the only magic tour in town. So it's less about the history of the Salem witch trials and more about the magic that has sprung from them and dispelling a lot of myths about magic and witches. So that was pretty cool. My friend and I were kind of the only witches on the tour. So we felt a little, yeah, we knew that. We know we don't ride brooms. But it was a really nice combination of history of the city as well as magic. So I highly recommend that one if you're in town. And it's actually from the oldest witch store in town. I guess at some point in the 60s or 70s, after Bewitched had filmed here, people started coming to Salem being like, where's all the witches? Where's all the witches? And there wasn't anything, but this one witch, and I'm going to totally not remember her name, came to town and opened the first witch and magic store. And it's still all around town. Every store has their own potions and their own candles and their own spells, which I love. So I will, in the email that goes out with this, I will try and remember to put that name in there for everyone. But since I've been going 1,000 miles an hour, I would love to start today with just a little calming breathing and some rooting down. So we'll do a little bit of visualization together. And also the stuff we're talking about is kind of, it's flighty, it's airy, it's a little out there. So I think grounding down will be a good practice regardless. So get a nice
Awesome.
comfy position. And if you are comfortable to close your eyes, go ahead and do that and just start breathing. Deep breaths. Try and expand your belly as you're breathing. And just feel into the body that you're in right now and come into this moment, this space and time, wherever you are right now, here or in the future, watching this. One more deep breath and a big long exhale. Keep breathing deep breaths at a pace that feels right for you. Expand your belly, expand your chest as you inhale. And as you exhale, let everything fall. We're going to start to imagine we have roots growing out of your base, whether you're sitting or standing or lying down. Feel those roots going through the bed or your chair, through your floor, through your foundation, through other apartments below you. Feel those roots go all the way down until they start hitting the earth. Feel the roots go down into the earth, into the dark soil, and further past the crust, into the mid layers. Feel how steady you feel with this energy, how grounding it is. Feel the steadiness. Let the roots go down deeper and deeper into the earth, spreading out, expanding their roots like all the beautiful capillaries that they are. And maybe you hit the center of the earth and you're able to draw on that energy and feel that warm glow coming up through the roots, through the layers, through the top crust, through the foundation, through the floor in your chair in your bed. Feel that steady, warm energy filling your entire body, coming up through your toes, winding up your legs. Nice, warm, steady energy up your knees and your thighs, enveloping your root and your base, your hips, your butt. Warm, steady, glowing energy. Feel it in your belly and your gut. Feel the steadiness through your rib cage, around your lungs and your heart, the warmth coming up your back. Feel it spreading out up your shoulders, the warm, steady, calming energy down your arms, past your elbows, into your hands, into each little finger. Maybe you rub your hands together and feel a little of that warm, steady energy right here too. Make a little friction and then pull your hands apart and just kind of feel the warmth. Feel that energy that you've been pulling up. Let the warm steadiness go further up your shoulders, up your neck and your throat. It's gentle, steady, calming energy. It's your jaw and your ears, your nose and your eyes, and the back of your head. Feel those warm, glowing capillaries all around your skull, your scalp, each tendril of hair, all the way up past your forehead and the very top of your head. Just feel yourself in this nice, warm, glowing, steady energy. We're rooted down from the top of our head all the way into the earth, to the center of that earth, that nice, glowing, warm, steady ball of energy. Just breathe into that for a moment. Feel the steadiness, the stability, the rootedness. I know we can't see those roots, they're always there. Sometimes we have to see them in our mind's eye to recall them, to feel our attachment to this earth and this plane of existence, and to come back to this moment, not the should haves of the past and not the what ifs of the future, just right here and right now, the being and the existing. Take one more deep breath all the way in. A big long exhale. When you're ready, gently blink open your eyes. Come to see where we are together. Okay.
That was lovely. Thank you.
Oh, good. You're so welcome. So I'm going to start a little bit with my background and my journey as to being a witch and the gifts that I know and as I understand them. I didn't even realize I had started calling myself a witch. There wasn't like a specific event where I was like, now we say this. But I realized when I was with a new New Orleans friend and some hometown friends, and we're just, making witch jokes. And they're like, when did this happen? When did you become a witch? When did you come out? When, when was this? And I was like, great question. And I think for the theme I keep hearing around here and in my experience as I meet people, that it's less about becoming a witch, about going through certain steps or rituals, and more about remembering that you've always been one, more about remembering the gifts that you have access to, more about remembering your full power. So when I was a kid, I used to live out on a ranch, and I spent a very, very large portion of my day talking to the animals. And I didn't realize until I was an adult that I was having those conversations. Like my mom saw me talking to the dogs, but I was talking to the dogs. Like we were having dialogue. It wasn't a monologue to the dogs. Same with the cats and everything. And I realized I had that gift. I guess in my 20s and 30s, I did a lot of dog sitting, and people would call me the dog whisperer. I was like, it's just how I thought it was how everyone could communicate with animals, but I realized that it was maybe a little extra special in that I could I could hear their thoughts and concerns a little bit more and adapt to them in the human realm, because we expect dogs to do what we tell them, right? And when they're misbehaving, there's usually a root cause to that. They're not getting some need met. So I continue to be a dog whisperer and other animals, and am working on expanding that gift. But I've been talking to critters since I was a kid. I also talked to fairies and had wild imagination back out on the farm when there was little else to do. And as I grew up, it was always storytelling, always putting on dances and performances and everything. Um, and I've always had really vivid dreams ever since I was a kid. I used to be a big sleepwalker. I would end up in all sorts of places around the house other than my bed. I'd freak my parents out sometimes. They're like, yeah, we came to your bedroom and found you in the bathtub instead. I was like, oh, I did have a dream. I was in water. Interesting. And the bath would be dry and I'd have like my pillow and my blankie. But I used to wander around a lot. And I don't do that. I don't do the wandering as much, or that I know of, I guess, as an adult. There's been periods of somnambulism. But it's more the really vivid dreams and more like prophetic dreams. For example, in high school, I had a dream my friend Carrie was going to call me and tell me she was pregnant. Like that phone conversation happened in my dream. And I woke up and I told my mom, I was like, I think Carrie's pregnant. And sure enough, the next day she called and said she was pregnant. My mom's like, she's not supposed to be pregnant. She's 16, blah, blah. So dream work is something I've done a lot of and continue to do. And that's one way I've realized and had access to other gifts. I started doing more training with channeling and claircognizance and other clair gifts in 2020. And I'll kind of circle back to that, but through actually I met with we had this wild Reiki experience and my grandma came through, and the person giving me Reiki and I were both like floored that we could both feel my grandma there. And, she's trying to communicate and we're both inexperienced with how to do that. And she's like, go to a medium, just go to a medium. I had just moved and was kind of broke. And I was like, yeah, with what money, grandma? And she laughed. She's like, ha ha ha, what's money? And we both heard that like clear as a bell. And we're like, okay. So later I was pulling out a photo of grandma to frame. $50 fell out from behind the picture. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like, okay, making an appointment. So I go to see this psychic in New Orleans, had great reviews. She was lovely. And the first thing she said to me when I walked through the door, she's like, oh, you're not crazy, sweetie. And I was like, excuse me? She's like, the community that you've been dreaming of, like that exists. She's like, these things that you're seeing and hearing. She's like, I absolutely remember being there when all this information came flooding in, and you're not crazy. And I was just like, great. So she actually gave me some amazing resources, and I'll share a few of those along the way. So I've started being more diligent about like with the channeling, with the downloads, with the communication from spirits and other entities coming and going. It's kind of like my house is feeling like a train station or a subway platform with people coming and going all the time. And it was just so noisy. But what she helped me to do is realize that if I kind of set office hours and say, okay, I'm going to channel regularly Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9 a.m. and you can talk to me then, but I don't have to listen to this 24/7. And that's been a big game changer in terms of being able to step back sometimes. And I think when anyone starts doing energy work, the ability to stop it is just as important as being able to engage. So that's where like this energy cleansing and protecting is going to come in for sure. And I think, oh, so back to the witch thing, totally derailed. I, with some of the resources that the psychic recommended to me, I started seeing these terms and descriptions that made a lot of sense to me. So it's like finally I had the words to describe what I knew about myself. So I could be called a kitchen witch. I have a whole list here. A green witch, cosmic, sex witch, sea witch, hedge witch. Um, but so what I've kind of settled on is eclectic intuitive witch. Like that's what has made the most sense to me, is that I dabble in a little bit of a variety of things and I'm open to expanding. So I've also been making potions ever since I was a kid. That was always one of my favorite games. And I'm sure my parents loved coming into their bathroom and finding everything half empty. But
How do you make those? I'm intrigued.
so I used to find like a bottle in the recycling, and then I would go into my bathroom, into my parents' bathroom. It was like a little bit of everything in certain proportions, like some of Dad's Head and Shoulders shampoo, some of the Johnson's Baby and Baby. But then there was always like trinkets tied with floss in these bottles that I would then hide around the property for them to cook. So so yeah, that's I'm going to tell you one of my favorite cleansing potions today also. Like I find great joy in mixing some special things together and having it feel infused with power. So we've evolved from Head and Shoulders and have a little bit more direction with our potions now.
Love that. I'm excited for it.
um so I think with the, you know, coming out as a witch, starting to say that's what I am, felt right. It made sense. It's because I found, I think for me, finding words helped me. But it's, I'll say again, I don't think you become a witch. I think you remember that you are one, and you remember the powers that you have. So, um, and a lot of the common themes that I've heard in all my research and meeting with other people and diving into other communities is really about doing what feels right to you. And I think that that is part of this work that ties in so nicely with a lot of the psychology and the embodiment work, is that all of that is really trying to get you back to trust yourself. We have so easily lost trust and faith in ourselves. Our inner children are screaming and throwing tantrums. So I think when we are able to go back and we're able to be mindful and present, that's when we can really hear our intuition. That's when we can really hear that inner guidance. And that is an incredible source of power. So that's where all of this is kind of linked up for me, is being able to do what feels right to me and trusting that I know what's best for me. So that's that kind of ties everything together, and I love that. Marian Weinstein, Positive Magic, is one of the books I started with that I absolutely love. And she is very much about words of power plus intention. That is what every spell is. That is the very base of magic. And if that sounds familiar to you and you come from a religious background, yes, it is like praying. It is the very same thing. It is having words that are specific, that you choose intentionally, and placing your heart and your faith and your intention um, on these same words to create energy, right? So so that's part of the spells that we'll get to a little bit in a little bit. And again, I don't think you have to have some encyclopedia of spells that other people have done. Like what words work for you may not work for me. And likewise, you may want to sing. Please do. You know, if that's what feels right and great to you, that's what you should be doing. I will not be singing, but a lot of my spells actually end up kind of like poems that come out. They come out as rhymes because you know, I was an English major. I love poetry. So that's kind of what comes out naturally for me. So again, doing what feels right to you and paying attention to your inner guidance, I think, is the base of all magic. Do
I
you
will
have any
definitely not
questions?
be singing either.
With that?
No singing for me, but I do love writing. So
Yeah, I think everyone has their own brand of magic. And what I've also seen a lot is that a lot of gifted people and empaths and clairs, that there's a lot of crossover with neurodivergency, so that there's what works for mainstream neurotypical people may not work as well for the magical community. And I want to really emphasize that this is where you get to do whatever you want and whatever feels good to you. If it's painting instead of writing a spell, singing it, dancing it, you know, building a clay model, like any of that with intention is absolutely important. And what we're doing in the deep dive into inner compassion is also trying to focus on other ways that we can reflect and engage with our intuition instead of just journaling and meditation, which may not be great for everyone. Is exploring other ways that we can listen to that inner voice, other ways that we can engage with our higher self. And I think that's um it seems to be a bigger conversation now, and I'm really happy to hear that, because I think especially in the magical community, we're not we're not normal.
there's no box.
There's
There's no
no
box that we.
box. Yeah, and we don't do boxes here, and we don't do perfection at Balance Roar. We know that. Um, so do what feels good for you. I want to dive into the starseed portion a little bit, because this gets really wild, but um, and I don't even fully have like the words to express everything that I know that I know to be true. So I star seeds are kind of defined as like when your soul doesn't feel of this earth, when you don't really feel at home anywhere on this planet, when humaning can be really hard, like those might all be signs that you're a star seed. If this existence seems a little unfamiliar, or maybe you're just not interested in human games and human existence, you might also be a star seed. So um I'm going to I can put a list in the chat, or I'll probably send it with the replay of different I have a list of different witches and definitions of like green witch and stuff, and then also of different star seeds like Pleiadian and Andromedan. And like most things, we're usually mixes of different galaxies, but the common theme is that we came here on purpose. We chose this mission. We chose to be here in a human form, and this may be our only existence as a human. I have had past life regressions, and I remember some experiences from there, and also know that I am not from here and I have a specific mission here. So if you do research online, you'll find I love this. Um, you'll find that people talk about different dimensions. So here in United States of America in 2022 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, we are in 3D. We're in the third dimension, and the awakened souls and beings are in 5D. They're in the fifth dimension. So like I know my job is to keep one foot in 3D and one foot in 5D, and kind of shuttle people through to guide humans, to guide muggles across to the awakening. No one gave me details about how this is being done. we don't have all that information, but like I know that is my job. And it's my awakening happened, like I can pinpoint the exact moment now looking back, But at the time, I honestly kind of thought I was having a mental breakdown. I thought I was exhausted and um, I was feeling a little crazy. And that's why I want to be having more of these conversations, is because that experience can be painful and scary and isolating. And um, especially as we're trying to maintain our day-to-day human life. So I was in Big Sur with a friend at the end of 2019, and I'd met this guy named Guy, and he got us passes to go to these beautiful, stunning, amazing, magical hot springs called Esalen. And they're like these like wild water spring pools on the edge of the cliffs with the ocean crashing below you. And like it was beautiful and refreshing and lovely. And as we were walking back up the hill to the top, I was just like, I'm different than when I went down that hill. Like everything I, planned to make out with this dude, whatever. I got to the top of the hill and I was like, I've got to go right now. And I drove back to the place we were staying and I was just bawling, like sobbing, to the point where my friend thought this guy had like hurt me or something. I was like, no, I didn't do anything. I was like, I'm just like overwhelmed with emotion. And then the next morning she went out to coffee and I took my journal and I went walking down by the river. I was like, I just need, grounding. I need nature. I need everything. And I was down down by the river and I was like screaming and crying by the rushing river. I mean, just tears bawling, like, and I could not even tell you like what story was coming up when I was feeling that emotion, because it wasn't about the story. It wasn't a reaction to anything specific. It was just so much emotion that had to come out. And I actually had a similar experience recently. I just woke up the other week on like a Wednesday and I was like, I am not feeling it. I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do yoga. Can do the yoga. I was like, all right, I'm gonna, you know what? I sat down to work and I was like, I'm not ready for this yet. I was like, I'm actually gonna shower this morning. I usually wait till the afternoon. So I get in the shower, which in my house is a portal. I call my bathroom my portal. And I get in my portal and I start sobbing again. I mean, like racking, gut racking. I am down on my knees in the shower, just like wailing. And the story that came up that time was, I want to go home. And it wasn't like home to mommy, home to my hometown. It was like, I want to go home, back to 5D, back to a reality that makes sense. I don't want to help anyone. I don't I don't want to do it. Like it was this teenage starseed tantrum. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to talk about this more. I need to find a bigger community um, because it can be painful. It can be isolating. It can be really lonely. And I think Devin just said in the chat, like she gets that when she looks up at the stars every night. Like, yeah, you're like, there. I want to go back there. Now I want to go exploring there for the first time. It's like back. I went, being homesick for a place you've never been, but this is being homesick for a place that like you've been, that even though it makes zero sense, right? Um, so how if any of that resonated with you, um, I find as I was learning about this stuff, as I was doing my own research, I'd often get like a gut punch, or I'd read something that would make me incredibly emotional. And that to me is like, hey, pay attention. Like this information is important for you to know. So if any of that anyone watching the recording like hits you in some way, I would recommend Insight Timer actually has some amazing options, and I have done a gamut of meditations because that works for me. You can search for 5D meditations. There's one guy in particular, Steve Noble, I think, who's really great. And you can do meditations based on the Akashic records, accessing the Akashic records to find information about where you come from, you can do the past life regressions or astral projecting and dream journeying. And that's something I'm still trying to train. I apparently do it when just for fun, just on my own, but I'm trying to make it a little more specific and and intentional. So and please reach out to me if any of that makes sense. Devin, was there anything you wanted to share while we're here?
No, I just wanted to add that I love that you're touching on this topic of star seeds, because I explored that for the first time back in, I think it was February. It was,
Yeah.
and I had an Akashic record reading with one of my Reiki healers, and it was just so enlightening because, and I've always known that I was an old soul,
Yeah.
and when she told me that my soul was like, I think almost like 70,000 years old, I was like, yep, this makes sense. This resonates. I've been around the block a few times. And then just like that feeling of like not fitting in, or like not being, like not, I don't know. There's this book, and I'll throw this out here on the recording too, if anybody has read it. If anybody remembers reading it in school, it was called Star Girl.
Okay.
Jerry Spinelli, I think, is the author.
Yeah.
But that must have been a book about a star seed, because that resonates so much. Like this girl that moves into town and she's just so different and has this like super bright light, but um, isn't received well by the rest of the community, until she like, kind of disappears one day, and then the whole community is like starts missing her and incorporating all these things that she brought into their community. And I was like, I've always resonated with that girl. So
Yeah.
that's how I know.
I love that. Yeah. I think kind of the cool thing about being alive now is that we have access to information and to each other in different places. So being able to find information that resonates, and then also communities, is so much more possible now than it used to be. And I think that is part of the time. And also just the fact that people are talking about awakenings on Instagram and TikTok, right? Like this stuff is speeding up. Like we are coming into a new era. This is all really important. So if anyone, I think just the more of us who are supporting each other and talking about it and acknowledging it, as cuckoo as it may sound to other people, is really important for the work that's going to be done. So thank you so much for sharing, Devin. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So energy, protecting and cleansing. All this work, the astral projecting, the meditations, spells and potions, all of that is energy. Energy, if you remember back in physics class, cannot be created or destroyed. It has always existed. The energy that we work with is it's malleable. We create energy, we create vibrations with our words, with our intentions. So this whole like good vibes thing has gone a little off the rails into like spiritual bypassing and complete gaslighting. But to create good vibrations and to have good vibrations takes work. It's not, I think it is our default state, to be honest, but there's so much other input and influences on a day-to-day basis in the modern world that it takes some effort to maintain good and higher vibrations. I don't like to say good and bad. There's, good vibes, bad vibes. It's like they're all vibrations. It's all energy, and we don't really live in that black and white world of good and bad. So when we say good vibrations, good energy and bad energy, my point is not that there is one or the other. They're both kind of the same. Think of the yin yang symbol, right? That there's a little bit of bad in every good, there's good in every bad. It's not it's not even that stark of a contrast, right? So there's a lot more gray area and energy than the language we use sometimes, to be clear. So we're going to start with cleansing and go through a few of my favorite ways. Since I'm traveling, I actually have some stuff with me that I usually travel with, and then other things that I pick up along the way because she's a witch. But if we think about, most things come back to the four elements of air, fire, water, and earth. So we think about air cleansing. One of the most common, I think one of the most common ways we see that being done is with smoke. There's a lot of herbs that you can light on fire that smell really good. When I'm at home, I have like the charcoal discs that you would put on like a hookah. If you remember the 90s, you put a charcoal disc on a fireproof, heat-proof tray, and then you can sprinkle herbs and resins over it, and it creates a nice smoke cleanse. And I kind of wander through the house. I keep the windows open so that energy goes out, and kind of clean everything every day. Partly because I do that dream work and I feel like I need a reset every morning, and also because of New Orleans just kind of being a revolving door of energies. You may also find, if you're new to energy work, you're like a bug light. Like your light starts attracting bugs and energies because they see it out there. So the information and whatnot can be overwhelming. So that's part of the cleansing and protecting, is just making sure that you're only accessing the energies that you want to be, and being intentional about what comes in. I also have a sustainably sourced Palo Santo thing here. And this is one of my favorite smells. And I'm at the point where, like, when this stick runs out, I don't know that I'm going to buy another one, as much as I love that smell. White sage is also on the no-no list. That is an indigenous ritual herb that is getting over harvested. And unless that is your culture, please find another alternative. You can use garden sage. There are 10,000 versions of salvia that work just as well. You do not need a $20 bundle of white sage in particular. Especially if you're in the desert areas. When I was in San Diego, I could walk down the street and pick up sage and lavender and whatnot. Yeah, this is a thing. It's getting, we're appropriating to the point of harming, and indigenous people are unable to get it for their specific rituals. And that's not cool. So when it comes to burning stuff, go look what's around you, find what's in your environment. If you're in the mountains, burning pine needles is delightful. Juniper. I actually, I took apart I had a garland for the holidays last year that I took apart, and I have a bunch of pine and juniper that I dried out, and that smells like Christmas when I burn it. It's delightful, and it has the same cleansing effect. So if you want to smoke cleanse your space, that's what you do. Light something yummy on fire in a safe way. You can even get the mini cauldrons, because those are nice, heat proof, they're thick walls. Get the charcoal discs that you'll find at a lot of herb stores and witchy places, and experiment with the smells that smell good to you. A friend of mine is obsessed with frankincense, and and this comes in like chunky, it kind of looks like crystals, but it comes in chunky resin chunks. And like frankincense, copal, and amber are really, really, I don't know, there's something about those scents that just lights me up. And those are resins versus dried herbs. So I also have a mix based on what my friend used to make. So her house always smelled the same, and it was like patchouli leaves, not patchouli incense, neem leaves, which are really good for cleansing and protecting. And it doesn't smell like the neem oil you spray on your plants, by the way. It smells much better. Copal resin and a cedar or redwood bark mixed in with dried lavender and rose petals. It's a fantastic, fantastic combination. That's one that I use because it reminds me of her, reminds me of Mama Witch and home. But again, find what works for you. I have a botanical herb shop near my house, and you can buy really small quantities of stuff. So go home, burn it, mix it up. That charcoal disc lasts for like an hour. So you can try different things and see what smells good to you. Do note that what you smell in the jar at the store, it smells different when you burn it. So I had them recommend like pinion resin, and I smelled it in the jar. I was like, this smells like trash, but I'll try a small amount. And I took it home. And again, it's one of my favorites. It has that woodsy smell that I love so much. You can look up online 10,000 meanings of stuff, but again, I'm gonna say go with your intuition. Go smell some things in jars. Ask someone at the local herb shop what they recommend, and just skip the white sage. And if you're gonna buy Palo Santo, make sure it is sustainably harvested, so that we continue to have it in the future. There's other woods that you can also burn that are really yummy too. I found some at the Mexican food store near my house, and they smell really woodsy too. So beyond the typical smoke cleaning in terms of air, another way to cleanse with air is with sound. Sound vibrations move through the air. So think of bells, rattles, the singing bowls, wind chimes, anything like that is air cleansing as well. So I have like a nice little wind chime on my door that kind of jingles when I open and close it. I have one of our Reiki friends uses the rattle for cleansing, and I love that sound so much. I went and got myself a rattle. So sound is also an air element for cleansing. Again, and if you're a musical person, pull out that drum, get your banjo, your ukulele, whatever. Like, you know, if woodwinds, my aunt plays a ton of little flutes. That is all also energetically cleansing. So that's air. I'm sure there's other things, but we're just going with my faves. Fire. I'm an air and fire is most of my astrological chart. So those are my favorites. Fire cleansing is like having a candle lit. If you write intentions down, you can burn pieces of paper. Being a slight firebug as a child, know if anyone else plays with melted wax and burning things, but that's always been a favorite for me. And maybe that's like the first sign of a witch is like remembering her love of fire, right? So any be safe. Don't leave things burning if you're not home. Only burn things outside so you don't set off smoke alarms and stuff. Like I was really cautious. I didn't want to have a candle lit in the hotel room in case the sprinklers went off. And you could see like with the Palo Santo, it just did like the lightest wisp. But at home I have, it's just an old vintage pot that I call my cauldron, and it has a lid. And anytime I'm burning stuff, I have a cup of water nearby, you know, adult things. And back to the smoke, like any incense works. You don't have to make your own. A stick of incense from the gas station is absolutely fine. So again, that like finding my own mix of incense and scents and stuff is like my joy of hedge witch and kitchen witching and green witching. Like I want to grow it and dry it and then burn it. Like that full circle makes me really happy. if it doesn't make you happy, buy a stick of incense from the head shop. It's fine. Um, Next up, we have water and water cleansing. It's actually another, they're all my favorites. Okay. I don't have a favorite child. Water cleansing can be your bath, your shower. It can be swimming in natural bodies of water. I think one thing to consider is just being more intentional about it. Can we be more intentional with the things that we do every single day and multiple times a day? Um, I've made like a yummy salt scrub, especially during crawfish season. So it had some aromatherapy oils and coconut oil and sea salt, and I had that in my kitchen. And so at the end of the day, would like scrub my hands with that and just being intentional. Like I'm clearing away all the negative energies. I use the salt scrubs in the shower and stuff too, or in a salt bath. Here today, I was able to put my feet in salt water, and that was divine. I couldn't fully immerse, it was a little cold, but any chance you get for a water cleanse, your everyday shower can be a water cleanse, your bath, any of that, brushing your teeth, washing your hands, washing your face. It's all about back to the mindfulness and paying attention and intending it to be cleansing. So like I I wasn't sure how wild the energies were going to be here in Salem. So I stole some table salt from a restaurant the other night.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm just going to do, like I said, like use you know, the shampoo from the hotel and put some salt in my hands and just like I release any negative energies. What do I like to say? Of course I had it all written down. Oh, I call all of my power back to me now. I release all energies that do not serve my best and highest good. I welcome in energies of peace and ease. Um, yeah, you know, there you are washing your hands for 60 seconds like CDC protocols. So just changing it from singing happy birthday to some words of power, as Marian Weinstein calls them, can make a big difference in cleansing your energy. Um, and also on the water, you can make sprays for your house, like which is really nice. Again, for I use it in my bed, especially because of all the dream work. And when I go down to the French Quarter, I feel really jazzed up sometimes, or feel like stuff follows me home. So I'll do a whole body spray like the second I walk in the house. And that's, you can simmer like half of a lemon, a branch of rosemary, dried sage or bay leaf or both, and salt. And just simmer that until the water changes color. It becomes like a golden color in like 10, 15 minutes. Let that cool, strain it, put it in a spray bottle from Ace Hardware or Target. And um, I'm actually disappointed I don't have a travel one now that I say all that. But that's lovely. You can do your whole house. If you don't like the smoke, especially if you're sensitive, if you have asthma or anything like that, this is a great alternative, is making a salt spray. If you don't want to boil the lemon and the rosemary, you can get the essential oils and cut that step out. You do want to simmer the water and the salt so that the salt dissolves, but it can be as simple as dissolving the salt and adding the essential oils of your choice. Citrus is a really good cleanser. If lemon isn't your thing, make it a yummy tangerine or even a grapefruit. And any of the more woodsy herbs like rosemary, pine, sage is a great one. I don't know that I guess I haven't really looked for like a sage essential oil, but and I think one of the essential oils that I use a lot is like bergamot might be good for protection. You know, the little jars tell you. Smell one, and whatever lights you up is the perfect one, I promise. Add that salt in the water and you're good. And then lastly, we have earth. And that's coming back to the salt as well, because salt is from the earth as well as the water. So that's kind of our crossover. But anytime you can get your feet, your body, your skin into the earth, dirt, grass, hugging a tree, talking to your plants, petting your plants, any of that is incredibly helpful. And science has shown that walking barefoot on grass actually releases negative ions from your body. So it's not just woo-woo stuff. Anytime you can be in physical contact with earth, it's really helpful. The other thing we do all the time now is we have our crystals and stones, and these are from the earth. And I have a ton of them, and half of them I could not tell you what they are, but I have picked them out due to a certain vibration or energy. This is ocean jasper, and it's really good for like anxiety. And this is one of the stones I feel the most incredible pull from. Like I feel it like sucking negative stuff from you. Like if you have anxiety or panic attacks, man, get a pendant of this or keep it in your bra or in your pocket to play with. It's one of the most soothing sponges I have ever felt. Big fan of that. And then also for cleansing, I have my little selenite wand that I travel with. And at home, I have a selenite dish that I leave my jewelry in. We'll talk about protecting in a minute, but I have some protecting jewelry. So to keep that fresh, I put it in a little selenite dish to recharge that in between full moons and stuff. So I have a bigger chunk at home that I like. And I just kind of go a couple inches from my body. And it's just like brushing. Like this one feels soft and light. It's kind of like I don't know, like a feather duster, or the one I have at home is a little more intense and feels kind of like a horse brush. Like, so, and just think you're brushing energy from the center out, up and away. So I start with my hands and my arms, and then like the throat, I'm pulling like up like this, pulling away, cleansing ears, like what you hear around. I spend a little extra time on the third eye, just kind of brushing it out, all around the head, and kind of swirl at the top in a clockwise direction for the crown. I love to do this before bed, or if I've been in high energy places or highly populated places, it's either the spray or the wand when I get home. And I'll continue all the way down the body, down the legs, and like, again, working from the center out. I even do under my feet. Selenite is not waterproof, so don't take it in the shower, but like rose quartz is. And so I have a big soft rose quartz stone, and I'll do the same thing, but like physically rub it on my body in the shower. It feels amazing. Or like let it rest on my chest in the bathtub. I think obsidian and tourmaline are also waterproof, and you can find bigger soft stones. So this is a good, easy one to travel with and to refresh your tools. Earth. And then like, I have kind of a couple of my own favorite essential oil mixes that are for cleansing and protecting. This one, I was talking about amber before, and I am obsessed with the smell. It just smells so good to me. So this is a grapeseed oil, which doesn't really smell like anything. I had it with sweet almond oil, and that wasn't a good combo for me. And then there's like just a literal chunk of the resin, the amber resin in there, and a little bit of cinnamon. I love that one. And like when it's mask time, I'll put a little in my mask and I feel happy all day. And this one I think is Indian sandalwood, rose, and a little bit of cinnamon for kind of my more love potion. And And the other, so we were talking about the words of power, like when we're washing our hands, like I call all my energy back to me now. Another thing to consider is the intimate relationships we've had, our sexual energy, and calling that power back. I took this sex magic class, and so we're talking about energy as physics. Everything we do creates energy. Well, orgasms are crazy intense energy, right? Like that is a huge burst of energy. So anytime you've had um basically anytime you've had an orgasm with another person, that kind of creates this energy signature that exists out there. You can call it like an energy baby. And same with whatever you think about when you are making yourself orgasm and self pleasure practices. So we've created these, like, I'm not even going to come up with a number, a lot of these energy signatures out there. And it's a nice routine to get into in terms of cleansing, is to call all that power back. And you don't have to do any particular ritual, but I think taking that time, especially if you break up with an ex or something, like there's cord cutting ceremonies and meditations, which are awesome. But I think also calling back your energy that you have shared with that person is incredibly powerful as well. So I would just get into that space and use those words of power. Like, I call all my sexual energy back to me now. I appreciate all the partners, good, bad, whatever, but that's, it's all coming back to me now. It's mine. And I'm recollecting everything that I've spread out there. So and it's also made me more mindful about the fantasies and things I use mentally also. I found that to be a little not cleaner in like a puritanical way, but like more peaceful energy signatures anyway. Any questions on cleansing? We have our 4 elements. We're calling our sexual energy back to us.
No questions. This is like such a perfect, timely session and topic, because I feel like even this morning, I was like, I need to protect my energy more. And I don't do that often enough. And it's interesting because I feel like I do a lot of this stuff, just not so consciously, not so intentionally. So I'm excited to do it more intentionally now. And I also just wanted to ask for that recipe again for the spray, simmering. It was sage, lemon, salt, rosemary.
Bay leaf was the other one I throw in there sometimes.
And do you like use any type of measurements? You just kind of throw them in?
I take whatever bottle I'm going to put it in and I fill that up with water and then put that in my pot.
Okay.
And so like, I think it's Walmart or Target has these like 5 or 6 ounce spray bottles in multiple colors that seem to be pretty good. If you make extra, you can also keep it in the refrigerator. Like if you're using the fresh ingredients, it doesn't last forever. But I don't measure anything, no.
And then do you store it in the refrigerator or no? If you're
I
using the
don't.
fresh.
Yeah, I don't. And it seems like even in New Orleans, it doesn't go bad or funky for quite a while, like at room
Okay.
temperature. And I think I'll use it within a month or two, but I wouldn't make a giant quantity. I would keep it at like a cup and a half, 2 cups. And if you use it, a couple times a week, you'll go through it fast enough to where it shouldn't get icky.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry, that was a question. I didn't realize it was a question.
Great. I love an unknown question. Protecting. So, cleansing is important. It's like, you go out in the city and you're sweaty and you get smog and stuff, like you touch public railings and all that, like you naturally kind of want to clear off after that. But and that's where all the cleansing comes in, is it's usually more we may only do it when we feel like we need to, but it's nice to get in a nice, like Devin was saying, more of a habit and a little more intentional as we do the things on a more regular basis. Even if it's like the one time you wash your hands a night before bed, that's when you're being intentional. Awesome. That's huge. So protecting, I also like to consider it as, wearing the mask when you go out in public, like protecting yourself before you go into the crowds, protecting yourself before energy draining situations, like, particular family members or a coworker or just certain events. Like, again, French Quarter is wild, wild energy with the ancient ghosts and pirates and all the people who come to party their faces off. Like, it's wild down there. So that's when I got in the habit of protecting my energy. And I made myself bleed here, which is fun. So number one is to form a relationship with some guide, angel, archangel, goddess, god, someone you feel connected to and can call on for protection. Archangel Michael is one of my favorites, which maybe explains why I've dated so many Michaels, but he's been a favorite of mine that I work with. Our witch guide last night works with Persephone. I have a friend who works with Hecate. Again, there are as many options as you could imagine. So you can look up like gods and goddesses. You can look up, powerful feminine protectors, whatever kind of strikes you, or just start paying attention and see if your guide kind of presents themselves to you. If I don't know, you meet a couple, run across Athena a couple times, like, dig into that. So I would say like having your unseen posse, your crew is where I always start. But that may take time to develop. And it's nice to call on them before going out or before getting in this higher intensity situations. The second are kind of all the, just like our air, fire, earth, and water of cleansing, we have that in protecting. And I always start with almost any black stone crystal. They're usually obsidian or tourmaline. This one's tourmaline, and this is a teeny tiny snowflake obsidian, which is like a perfect little pocket stone. It's like as big as my thumbnail. And then I have like my black tourmaline ring on almost all the time. Starting with the black stones, smoky quartz, those are great to use for protection, and you can keep them in a pocket. You can put them in your bra, you can put them in a shoe or your purse or your hat, like wherever feels good on your body. You can wear them as jewelry. You can put it under your pillow at night. You can put them around your house, on your desk. Like if I could find a smaller snowflake obsidian, I could tuck it in my phone case. Like it can be anywhere. So again, whatever feels right and good to you. But I love the black stones. And if I am like in a crowd or something, this one I swear has like a thumb spot in it. Like I like to physically hold it and play with it. Salt is also another protector. You can use it just like the movies. You can put it across doorways and windowsills and stuff to protect your home. Along with salt, you can use red brick dust and dried eggshells. Those are other common protecting substances. Again, what is accessible to you, what you find. Like drying out eggshells is actually a process so they don't smell bad. So if you're not into that, go get some salt. that's fine, you know. And I always start at the dollar store, actually, by the way, for a lot of my ingredients, including glass jars and big old bags of like fine ground Himalayan salt that I use for scrubs and stuff. Start there. It doesn't have to be a huge investment. What else? Blackstone. Oh, the others, there's a lot of other stones that are common protectors too. Orange calcite, rose quartz, amethyst. Again, when I go to a crystal store, I may see something like this pile, and I'll be like, I need a new protectee crystal. And I'll kind of close my eyes and find one and just see the vibes. Actually, and I think this is a new one I just got. And then I'll look it up and be like, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed. So trust what feels right to you on that, in that note. And then lastly, like other than having some physical talisman, like I do a lot of the visualization. So again, my chart is really air and fire, and that's what I'm drawn to, and that's what makes sense to me. So I'm able to kind of visualize, and this is like my super emergency version, is I can visualize a flame in my left hand that will clear a path. It was down in the French Quarter during Easter, and there was this intersection that was just wall to wall drunk bunny ears. And I was like, I want to go, I want to get across. And that's when I will like turn that fire on and watch people just kind of get out of my way. It's really nice without saying anything, but that's really draining. Like I can't, that's not sustainable to do all day, every day. It's not. In a pinch like that, it's great. Or a crowded sidewalk or whatever, like I will do that. But generally what I've developed is a visualization of kind of this like rose gold mesh armor cage. And it can be really close, like a really close bubble, like 2 or 3 inches away from my skin when I'm with people I love, when, you know, there's still, it's not a full wall that you can't see through. It's not opaque, but they're still able to have an energetic exchange coming in and out. But I'll keep it close to me if I'm, you know, like a friend's house party, maybe where I don't know a bunch of people or something. But if I'm like on an airplane or walking around here, I kind of create a bigger bubble. I kind of feel the other day I had the image that I look like Grimace, like just this like pink rose gold mesh Grimace shaped bubble walking down the street, you know. Um, so we'll do that visualization together to end things. And again, I just like, I'm going to use some descriptive words so you can build your own mesh shields. I will encourage you to make it pretty and empowering, like what excites you. Maybe it's super tough and has spikes, cool. But make sure that there is room for give and take, that it's not a solid wall, that it's not like a brick wall or you know, a moat with alligators, that you're still able to protect yourself and be around people that you love and want to be close to, so that it's not a full blocking shield wall. Just looking at my notes to see if there's anything else. Yeah, and if like the mesh, rose gold mesh bubble makes sense to me. But think about what elements resonate most with you. I mean, maybe it's you're actually covered in ivy or something if you want a more earthly feel, and that this ivy protects you, but you can see through it, right? Like, but you can make it further away, you can make it dense or thin. Maybe it's like the bubbles you blow, maybe it's more of like a water bubble around you if you're into the water. But you can, you know, breathe and stuff. Think about, you know, what resonates with you as we do the visualization. So before we get started on that, any other questions? And thanks for staying. We've gone over for sure.
No problem at all. No, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yay.
And I just
Okay.
my one of my methods too is I just visualize like connecting to the light, whether that's like the sun or divine white light, whatever resonates, and just letting it like shower, just like a
Yeah,
rain shower, cleansing everything as it goes. And I work with Archangel Michael as well.
so figures.
Yeah.
I love that. I just found a book today that he made me buy, so I'm excited.
Wow. Ooh, okay.
I'll pass it on to you when I'm done.
Yeah, please do.
It's some local witch writing stuff, so
Cool.
yeah. So, and I love the sun shower visualization of that golden light coming down. That sounds really yummy. And I also think like the rooting down that we did at the beginning is a really good pairing with any of these, being a bubble or a grimace shield or whatever, like where the intent's not to float away and to block other people out. It's just to filter. So maybe thinking of it more of a filter versus a block would be yummy. I've also had a visualization with like the warm honey flowing down of the light and the energy, and that feels really good too. Again, I'll say on Insight Timer, if you don't find something that resonates with you here, keep exploring. You'll find something that tickles your fancy somewhere, I promise. You can look at energy protection. If you search that on Insight Timer, you'll find a bunch of different inputs. So yay. So we'll just do a little protection visualization to wrap it up tonight and leave us in a yummy state. So again, settle in wherever you are. Have a drink of water. Take a few deep breaths and tune back into your body. Back to where we are right now. Remember those roots that we planted earlier. We kind of left them there. So see if you can still feel yourself planted. Feel the stability and the safety. The roots that are reaching down through the earth to the warm core, drawing that energy up. Now we're going to use the energy we draw up and we're going to create a filter around our body. Think of it to start as a bubble that encompasses you about a foot on every side, maybe a giant jelly bean that you fit inside. Think of the bubble that you can see through, you can breathe, you can hear and smell. And look what material your bubble is made of. Is it shiny? Is it earthy? What does your bubble look like? And can you imagine it going all around your body, a foot above your head, a foot off from each shoulder, in front of you and behind you, completely enveloping you in this gentle, gentle bubble? Think of your filter. Maybe visualize looking down at your arm and see if you can draw it in closer and closer to your body. See if you can wear it like a suit versus being completely enveloped in it. Kind of get so close that it feels like a second skin to you. And it's still covering you from the top of your head, down your front and your back, down your arms and torso and legs and feet. But can you visualize it closer to your body? Just hovering above your skin. feeling soothing and comforting. Still feel strong and safe. Can you take your mesh, make it expand again, create a full bubble around you. Still feeling yourself tethered to the earth through the roots. Feeling light come down. Mm. Now let your filter down, let your shield down, and feel the difference there. And we'll thank the earth for keeping us stable. And we'll slowly pull our roots up to the molten core, back up through the deep layers of the earth, back up through the top dirt crust, through the floor and the foundation, chairs and our beds, all the way back. And we're tucking our roots back in the soles of our feet. They're always there, always keeping us tethered here, where we've chosen to be, where we remember where we are, where we know our own power, where we listen to ourselves, where we believe in ourselves, and where we know for sure the magic is real. When you're ready, take another big deep breath in your nose and sigh it out your mouth. And slowly blink open your eyes. You can ignite your bubble whenever you want, wherever you go. Maybe play with the elements, see what resonates with you to create kind of a supercharged protector. Imagine it sitting in the palm of your left hand and use it to actually create a shield that drives people away, kind of like a snow plow billowing off the sides. Play with that. Let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear what your shields look like, what your filters look like, what your favorite cleansing and protecting combos are. And if any questions come up as you start exploring, and as always, if you make any delightful discoveries, I would love to know. I like that we share information, friends. So give a holler. Happy third Monday. And I'm going to stop the recording and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, friends.